Imagine you're living in the 1950s. You're a gangster and your surname is Cray. Well, today we're going to be talking about your favourite getaway car, the Jaguar Mark II.
I don't know what happened, I just know what the police said.
And I don't care what any of these hip-hop artists have to say. You're 40 Cents or you're JB.
Okay. This should look good.
This was the original Gangster. And before we jump into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, because otherwise I'll do nothing really. It's not subscribe or die, but let's assume it is, please. Okay, let's jump straight into it. Today we're talking about the Jaguar Mark II. If you were living on the East End of London at the time of the 50s and you were robbing banks into the 60s up to 67 or 68, then you were probably interested in a Jaguar Mark II. This car was just incredible, and actually the year it ceased production is the same year that the Cray twins went to jail. So that's why it's quite linked with them, because it ended production in 68, they went to jail in 68, and they used these cars for quite a bit of crime. But let's jump past that and talk about the history of this car. Now, as I spoke about yesterday, Jaguar were quite adept with making sports cars like their XK 120, 140, 150 and those types of things, and the E-Type Jag, which of course in this era was incredibly famous. They were also quite good at making cars like the Mark V, quite large luxury cars, but they didn't have any middle-level executive cars, something like, imagine a 3 Series of today, although this is more an M3 of today. So in 1951, there was a weird mixture of things going on, and basically Jaguar got use of the Daimler Browns Lane plant. Unfortunately for them, this didn't have the space to move all of their production into, so they would have to keep all of their production in their other plants. However, it did cause them to look at something interesting. They decided to make a mid-level compact executive car, which they did with the Mark I. And they sold the Mark I from 1955 to 1959 when it was replaced with this, the Mark II. And the Mark II was a much, much better car for many reasons. This car was released with fantastic new looks, and this basically had to sit that way because William Lyons, the chairman at the time, wanted to give this car a new tagline and slogan of grace, pace and space, and it achieved all of those things. Now we'll move on to pace later on, but in terms of grace, this car looked incredibly luxurious from the onset, and the Mark I did as well, so it's no real surprise. I think everything that Jaguar created around that time was very British and very beautiful looking in its own way. And of course, this led the car to just go on from the Mark I in terms of sales and spike, which we'll get onto a bit later on. This car was redesigned completely from the waist up. So imagine my midsection, but with less fat. And the main things they did was they created the car with more window space to make it more open inside. And they did this by making the pillars a lot smaller. So it had thinner side pillars, thinner A-pillars and thinner rear pillars. They also put the now iconic D shape in the back with a little bit of an extra rear window, and that just gave this car that presence on the road, as well as making it just more open and spacious and luxurious inside. So it fit that bill. And one of the interesting features that this car had on the inside was heating for the back passengers. So they were really going up to say, look, Rolls, we can make a cheap version of your car. This car also was the first one with the now infamous Jaguar grille, and this grille has changed slightly over time, but they've always kind of kept it in that look. And when Ford reintroduced Jaguars in the late 90s, they put essentially the same grille and the same headlight setup on the S-Type and X-Type. The fore lights and the rear tail lights on this were completely changed around to give the car a more sporty and aggressive feel while keeping that luxury interior and that luxury styling. It was essentially Bentley Bentegas and Bentley Flying Spurs before such a thing existed. This car was absolutely incredible. Of course, this engine, which I won't get into too much, but this engine is the same one that was in the XK 120 and was in the E-Type Jag. And the thing about that engine is that it's incredible. By this point you could get the 3.8 litre with 220 brake horsepower, and of the ones sold, that sold the most. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful engine. Now, as I said, this car was used for many a bank job and criminal activity, and for good reason. At the time, 125 miles an hour was a very fast pace, especially for a car of this style. This was a sedan, so you could fit all the money you've just robbed from the bank in the back, and you can also fit 4 passengers, which is enough, 5 passengers, sorry, which is enough to rob a bank. Not that I would know, but that's how I pay for my lifestyle. I wish. Don't have that much. So the car's performance figures were a whopping 125 miles an hour, and it would do that in an incredible pace. It would also get to 60 from nothing in 8.5 seconds, which again doesn't sound like a lot, but this was 1959. The 60s hadn't happened yet. People weren't taking LSD in droves. This car had an engine that was faster than the highs people were taking. Incredible car, incredible performance. My final word on this car is not only was it a criminal's favourite, it was also Jaguar's favourite. This car would sell through the roof. The XK120 and the E-Type would do in the tens of thousands, less actually. The XK120 was 12,000, as I said yesterday. If you haven't watched that video, check it out up here. This car would sell 86,000 units, and unsurprisingly, the 3.8 litre version was sold 30,000 times. And that car is by far and away one of the most beautiful classics I've ever seen, and I definitely want one in my garage in future. Thank you so much for watching today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a video on the full history of Jaguar from when they started in 22 till now, where they're owned by Tata Motors. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see that, and hit that little bell icon so you can watch those tomorrow as well. And if you haven't checked me out on Drive Track, definitely do there. I need all of the subscriptions I can get so I can put wine on the table for mi familia. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.